Okay, so now we are presenting a few slides that we call Solution for Greening the Gray. Next, please. Just few notes on who is Saipem. We are an Italian company. We have presence in more than 60 countries with more than 32,000 employees and coming from 130 different nationalities. Our backlog nowadays is in the range of 25 billion euro, with more than 78% related to non-oil business. Saipem has been always oriented towards technological innovation and is currently committed alongside with its clients on the front line of the energy transition. We have been working in Indonesia since more than 25 years now, and we have been involved in several different projects in Indonesia, Jangkrik with DNI, Tangguh with BP for onshore and offshore business. We have been working also for Masela, Abadi LNG feed with Impex. So basically, our experience globally and also in Indonesia is focused on the gas. And next slide, please. So natural gas and LNG is considered to be the new energy transition vehicle, new energy carrier, because it's basically, let's say, more efficient and less and more cleaner than the other oil sources, with the reduced footprint of CO2 with regards to the oil of the 30% and more than 90% lower pollutant for all the other pollutants. So LNG, thanks to the investment in the last 20 years, we consider is very common nowadays, is available, and we believe that also in Indonesia we have a lot of investments ongoing, and Indonesia has been the pioneer of the LNG gas industry in the past. Indonesia also has a geographical footprint, and that is, let's say, a good potential for the development of distributed LNG network for the local power generation for industrial and private user. So as Saipem, we are fully committed in Indonesia on the ongoing transition from traditional fossil fuel to the cleanest LNG sources, working side by side with the national and international clients for leveraging our expertise on liquefaction, regasification, and customized modular solution for the transportation of the gas and regasification of the gas itself. Next slide, please. So at Saipem, we developed a portfolio of technical solutions to further reduce the natural gas carbon footprints during the treatment and liquefactions. And as many of other speakers already mentioned, the technology is already there. We just created, let's say, some stream where we try to improve the technology, and these 4 streams are divided in our portfolio with the energy efficiency, meaning proven efficiency energy generation to reduce the emission, process optimization, implementing today best available technologies based on the experience on past projects to cut the overall energy demands and to reduce the emission. For example, in LNG liquefaction plants, the BOG liquefaction, the boil of gas liquefaction, or the reducing the flare emissions. We believe that one of the most important pillars is the carbon capture, already mentioned by a previous speaker, for the capture of CO2 and the reuse of CO2 to support the net zero LNG, and hybridization, meaning the use of proven and emerging new energy technologies to eliminate the key emission sources. Next slide, please. So as EPC contractor and solution providers, I want to bring in this webinar some more numbers. So here there is a slide where you can see a study we have done on an LNG plant. Is not referring to an LNG plant in Indonesia, is in another country. But it's interesting to see on the left side a graph where you see that the CO2 contribution of the LNG plant is represented by the 23% by power generation, more than 60% by the drivers, for the mechanical drivers for the compressor of the liquefaction trains, 10% by hot oil, and only 5% by AGRU. So meaning that in this case, with this feedstock, more than 95% of the CO2 emitted by an LNG plant is coming from the solution we select during engineering phase for the plant constructions and engineering. In this case, we have a baseline emission of CO2 on the range of 0.30 ton of CO2 for each ton of LNG produced. So if you move on the right side of the slide, you see that just acting on the efficiency of the drivers, of the mechanical drivers for the compression trains, just acting on the power generation efficiency overall and focusing on the what we were saying, that the process efficiency on the plant, we can reduce the emission from 0.29 tons of CO2 for tons of LNG produced to 0.18, so meaning with a reduction of 37%. Next slide, please. The other pillar and the other solution we are proposing nowadays is hybridization for existing plants, so that can be easily implemented on existing plant or new plant, of course. And the extension of the hybrid solution implemented can be tailored to maximize the benefit cost ratio. So the typical hybridization scheme we are proposing now is the use of renewable power to feed directly the grid with the maximum capacity to avoid the power generation unit operating load lower than 70%. In this case, we have here the floating solar panel that are particularly useful in places where you have low land availability. And we have a patented solution that works also in open sea, or renewable power to feed an electrolyzer. Maria was talking a lot about hydrogen production, where the hydrogen is used to blend the power generation unit and mechanical drive, as also Becker-Hugh was mentioning. So these are an example of hybridization. Next slide, please. But one of the most important pillars we believe is necessary to achieve the goals, the ambitious goals of all the nations and the COP26 is the CCUS. As Saipem masters the entire CCUS value chains thanks to its solid background in process technology, pipeline fluid transportation and rejection experience. And we have also our proprietary carbon capture solution that is called CO2 solution by Saipem, that allow us to offer to the client a complete solution for CCUS in the CCUS value chain. Going a little bit on the detail of this slide, for the carbon capture, we have designated and built more than 70 CO2 removal plants with different wide range, with different technology from membrane to physical and chemical solvent. This is on the upstream portion. And on the downstream, so the carbon capture from the post-combustion, we use our CO2 technology solution, property solution that I was mentioning before. For the use of CO2, we have a wide experience also in this, because we have 136 plants spread all over the world, more than 40 engineering constructed by Saipem to transform the CO2 in fertilizer with our SNAM Progetti technology for urea. We also designated and built the largest methanol plant that can reduce the CO2 emission by 360,000 tons per day. On the transportation, of course, Saipem is well known for the pipeline and sea line installation. We have installed engineering more than 130,000 kilometers of pipeline. in the most remote and areas globally. We integrate this knowledge with the knowledge of CO2 management coming from for example, from the urea plant. So we offer also solutions for the transportation that also Becker Hughes was mentioning as a critical part of the CO2 management. For the storage, Saipem is also a drilling contractor, as you well know. We drilled more than 70,000 wells, both onshore and offshore, and we have extensive experience on acid gas reinjection for CO2 sequestration. Recently, example of a storage project is in Cornegliano Valdense in Italy. Next slide, please. As final remarks, in some of the previous presentation was mentioned the circular economy. So we wanted to present also something on the downstream, because usually when we are going to talk about carbon capture, we are more focusing on the upstream portion of the oil and gas sector. So for the downstream, I wanted to put here on the table our experience on the conversation of an existing refinery to produce innovative and high quality biofuel, such as green diesel, green LPG, and green naphtha from vegetable oil, animal fats, and used oil cooking. So this is, let's say, an example of circular economy. This project has been built in Italy. It's the world's first conversion done by ENI, together with the UOP that has patented in 2007 the EcoFin technology. As Saipem, next slide please, we have assisted, of course, our client for, let's say, from the early engineering phase and the full check of the actual status of the refinery, and the reorganization of utilities, the network of the plant, such as the blowdown and flaring system, as well as the engineering of civil electrical automation part, and the management of the construction companies involved in the project. This refinery is a target to produce 300,000 tons per year of green diesel, in addition to green naphtha and LPG, and is planning to have an expansion to reach 500,000 tons in the second step, using 230,000 tons of vegetable oil per each year. So here my presentation, the slide please, is finished, and I leave the floor to the last speaker.